First of all, thank you, Shantanu, Fasi, Chandrapal, to be here. Again, we are just doing a wrap-up session for security engineering track at Rootconf Mini, right? The whole idea is you guys have been here, saw conversations from AI chatbots to Chandrapal's on how security can affect your AWS bills to supply chain security. We want to talk about bit future trends, and my first question is, will AI take over security? Okay, no, a serious one, let's start, right? Again, I would like to hear from all of you on what metrics do we use or should we use to measure success in security?
It would basically depend on the domain, right? So for example, in case of payments, one of the industry accepted metrics is number of...
Before, would you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Shantanu, I'm the chief architect at PhonePe, right? So one of the accepted market metrics is the number of chargebacks you're getting hit with, right? If you are handling merchants, right? So that is one part of security more in terms of fraud and so on and so forth.
Fraud and payments
Fraud in
aspect.
payments, like your merchants, say for example, chargeback will come up in a case where merchant has somehow gamed your verification system and taken money but not delivered the goods and so on and so forth, right? So that is one side you would see. From the consumer, if you're running like a consumer application business, again, I work mostly in payments domain, so a bunch of them would be, say for example, scams, right? And how you are building protections and call outs, etc. in the app to block the number of frauds that frauds and scams your customers are being subjected to, right?
Fair. So what you're saying is security, at least domain specific, but security and fraud should work together to find the right metrics depending on their system.
I think, see, finally, what I feel is there can be tech metrics and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, what I feel is the metrics that you get by observing your customers or whatever the customers are reporting or how they're getting affected, that is the one which I think you should always be optimizing for.
Fair,
right?
fair. Fasi, you want to add something? And first introduce yourself and...
Yeah, I'm Fasi, I'm a principal architect at Swiggy. For me, I think when Chandrapal was talking about this in the morning about how security is every organization specific thing, I really could relate to it. So a little bit background is I'm not from a traditional security background. So from my perspective, there are two different aspects. So one is obviously about security, and the other is, especially for a company like Swiggy, it is security of your infrastructure, data, etc. And then there is frauds, which he was talking about. So I look at it both very differently, what is security versus what is fraud. But at the end of it, from a metrics perspective, at least to my mind, the way I look at it is, over past 6 months, we typically look at it 6 months, karke. So in the past 6 months, how many critical vulnerabilities was I able to find is, to my mind, the metric that I'm planning to move.
Fair.
If I see that in a 6 month period, we didn't have any critical metric, critical security that I could find, a new kind of security vulnerability I could find,
Sure.
it means that we are stagnating, because I believe that there will always be more and more things to find. So if you're not finding it, it's basically you're not moving, right? I think it's kind of a probably non-traditional, but at least to my mind, that's how I look at metrics.
Fair. Chandrapal.
Okay, have been doing product security at a couple of places now. On the metrics part, I agree on what both of you folks said. What I would also like to add is, it also depends on the culture of the company, because if there is, I've worked at 2 different places where the culture is completely different and the metrics used or metrics portrayed from the security team is also different. For a company that has a C-level person who says that we have to be secure by nature or by design, that is completely different. And for a company where we have to go fast to the market, we have to just go ahead with that. Now tell me, how are you going to convey the requirement of defense in depth? Like there is no business value it gets out of it, right? So those kind of metrics will never make sense in any startup which doesn't value security, maybe just for compliance reasons. But holistically speaking, all like based on the culture, you have to build up your metrics. It could be as simple as if you're in a very mature state, you can talk about number of vulnerabilities you fixed, the network architecture changes you made, and what is the impact of it. And yes, also if you are into fintechs, also talk about the fraud, like your mobile application SDK or how you harden your mobile application, that directly has an impact with fraud. You can say that, okay, we did this, then this had the impact on this lowered. So
Fair, fair. No, fair point. The only thing I'd like to add is, again, mean time to detect and mean time to resolve becomes a really critical metric in security that, hey, something's happening on my infrastructure code. How fast can I detect and how fast can I resolve, right? Regardless of how it got in, right? So if my recent incident of one of the big IDP happened where they were not even aware for 2.5 months there was an attack, right? Now, if you could find ways to do it, and again, for business, it could be very simple as, can someone bring me down? Can someone steal my data, right? Now, this is very business-centric metric that I think helps business to look at it versus, again, tech-wise, what you guys said in this. My second question is a two-part question. Is first, what one mistake or myth about cybersecurity future trend that you want to debunk here today? That, hey, people are saying this is what's going to happen, and you feel something personally about it. Second, what's your take on what is cybersecurity future looking like?
Okay, not really busting a myth or whatever, but I think a lot of the issues that we see in the apps are still very, very fundamental. Okay, while there are many sophisticated attacks possible, the biggest vulnerability actually comes from the users themselves. Okay, and yeah, AI will do this. People will use AI-driven attacks and so on and so forth, which is possible. You can do much more sophisticated DDoS attacks now because of AI. But the thing is, you can do quite a bit of harm at scale, even without trying too hard, just by using simple social engineering and so on and so forth.
So
Right,
you're
so
saying first principle thinking is still missing?
First principle thinking is missing quite a bit. In a lot of places, security is still an afterthought.
Yes.
We'll launch the product, or last day somebody will say, oh, API is open, okay, let me add a token, etc., whatever on the header, and we are sorted.
Yes.
But it actually needs much deeper thinking and so on and so forth, right? So
And how do you look at future of cybersecurity? Like, what's your take?
it is gonna get more and more difficult, okay, with the level of sophistication increasing, cheap compute power available nowadays, number of devices in the wild where you can basically fool people to install some kind of a bot. The scale at which you can create botnets now versus what you could do before is
Yes.
very, very different.
Fair.
Very, very different. Okay, earlier it was like some users on a PC. Now you literally have billions of devices.
Mobile
Okay.
devices. Fair.
Right. You get in a supply chain attack or something like that on a popular app, you basically can launch insane scale attacks.
Fair. Completely
Right,
agree.
so, yeah.
Fair. Fasi?
It's very difficult to top that. I think that is probably, like I heard that, I'm like, yeah, I think that is probably the myth. And we think that the space will evolve, but I think the biggest cybersecurity risks, at least the ones that I managed to find and fix, I felt that were the most fundamental ones. You can think of all AIs and all fancy things, but the biggest mistakes continue to be you use a secret that is shared with developers, right? Like I think those are not going anywhere. On top of that, I think, at least as of today, the sophistication of these risks, the phishing sophistication that these people bring is just mind-blowing, right? Like other day, I think I saw this, some video-based, so there is like an actual, looks like it is all real. It's very difficult to convince yourself whether this is like a fake threat or a true threat, because it looks like people have gone to lengths. Even there was this FedEx scam that happened, or
Yes,
even
yes.
Swiggy had a bunch of these scams where
Yes.
it's something like you hit IVR, give your OTPs and whatnots. It's like the amount of money involved is not much, but because the technology is cheap, people are able to do run these at a scale where a very small amount of 100, 200 rupees, if you're able to pull it off for a couple of hours, you would have made enough to kind of, like vanish into thin air. Is just amazing how the sophistication has evolved.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, the amount of scams that have come up really actually simple. Like simplicity is the ultimate sophistication, right? Like they are not doing something really, but they are smart enough to play on your psychology that like engineers are not able to think that smartness in terms of psychology the way they're coming up with it. I completely agree. Chandrapal, you wanna?
Nothing to add on what folks said. I think security would continue to, like, I've always asked this question, why am I in security? Will there be security in the next 5 years? Will it be eaten up? Will it be not? These kind of questions, and it becomes more philosophical. Like, okay, what I understood is whenever you term something as bad, whenever there is, be it in terms of greed or be it in terms of other technical things, there would be security to secure it. So security is not going anywhere. Maybe the tech changes. Maybe there is another kind of bubble where, okay, AI is the old thing. Now we have something new. Things like that, but security will always be there. It's an aftermath. It is first thing that you think about, no clue how it would look like. But security would continue to do there and like to protect, basically.
Fair. So I have a follow-up question for you, right? Like, because you guys brought very interesting piece. What could, I don't know, I want to say leaders, or what could we all do, right? I'm not differentiating between a leader, an engineer, or a security engineer, that developers can adopt security first mindset without slowing down the development cycle.
You can't eat your cake and have it.
Sorry?
You can't eat your cake and have it. There is always a price to pay, right?
Yeah.
You want to make things secure. There is a price. Now the thing is, what you can do is invest in security upfront, which will make the later process or the lives easier for the developers at the later point in time. Or if you don't, but you want to make it secure, there is always a price to pay. Every app launch will get delayed because a couple of issues will be found and so on and so forth, right?
So, but how do you build that appreciation that this is for the longer good? Matlab, I don't understand security at all.
Top down.
Okay.
It is something which basically, it is something that basically should percolate, must percolate top down, not should. It must percolate top down that yes, I want the business to grow, I want the product to launch, etc., etc. But I can't risk my users' data or something like that. If the security team is saying it takes one more day of testing, or there is something which might end up becoming a day zero, you stop the release, pause the release, take a couple of days, fix it and move on. And that is okay. That should not become like something you get punished for. That is okay. That is a cultural thing. That thing needs to happen, right?
Fair. So you're saying it's more of a top-down unless CTOs and head of engineering align with security, not just as a rubber stamping, but they...
In the best companies, I see business is aligned with security.
Yes. That's there. India subcontinent is still not there yet where business is aligned.
It is like in, not bragging here at all, okay, but the thing is in PhonePe and all, okay, if we say there are issues with respect to security, nobody will say anything. They'll wait for the release. Okay. It is, again, it happens because it comes
Top down.
like, it's a cultural thing. It is set. It is not a negotiable. You go and basically have a debate on, okay.
Fair.
There are things you can have debate on, okay. We will basically make the button blue or red, okay. Or maybe launch like 50% of the product rather than the whole thing. But we can't let an insecure API go through.
Fair.
That is not something which is...
Okay. Fasi, anything you want to add?
Yeah, to my mind, I think I'll mostly agree with what you said. But one change there is, I think, as security professionals, we have to think of it as how do you make it a win-win? In the sense that sometimes, like security will come and say that, okay, this has this 5 vulnerabilities, you can't go live with it. But if you are able to take a step back and say that of these 5, these 2 are critical because they will cause this damage. And the remaining 3, this is the risk that it carries. Basically, I think that risk framework, if you're able to sort of popularize that risk framework with the company, I think it is a lot easier for everybody to understand that if I do this, this is the risk that I am causing to my consumers. I think as engineers, everybody cares for the product. If we are able to, at least from my perspective, one key change that I was able to do, I think I had discussed it with you earlier. Basically, we took the CVSS 3.0 framework and changed all the examples and the names that it has to put a Swiggy context to it. And to every vulnerability that the security engineering would find, we would put the security score and a link. So people could click on it and see why is it classified as a critical. That gives people a lot of they feel sort of empowered to say that, okay, I will fix this because this is a risk that otherwise I'll push. And this I can take up as a follower. That kind of helps people.
So democratizing security, a bit of security evangelization and democratizing of how we have done it. Because till now it feels like I'm saying it's a security issue, I can't let you go live.
Yes.
Versus building that appreciation, hey, this is why it cannot go live.
Exactly.
Is what helped you fair.
However, there is one catch though. At least for, let's say, something net new that we are doing, sometimes it is very difficult to put a risk around it. But that is a good first step where people start appreciating that if the central team says something, security team says something, critical means critical because these are the other criticals that we are seeing.
Quantifying security is a really tough problem
it
to
is.
solve. It's not solved. Chandrapal, you want to add anything?
Quantifying, like I think 2 major great points that you folks gave is one, we have to get a top-down buy-in, and second is quantifying security. So I can't agree more with what you said, top-down approach, because whatever you do as a practitioner, even if you're an engineering manager, if you're not able to convey or if you can't get a buy-in from the top down, it's not going to work. Like I've heard a lot of stories where engineering teams were not able to be successful because it was not happening in their company. Like they were not able to secure it perfectly. Rather than that, I've heard stories where after they get buy-in, things were pretty smooth. Because quantifying security, like for a simple example could be supply chain security. Like you have a dependency issues. Now, if you have a top-down buy-in saying that, okay, there should be 0 high and critical, like we as security engineers can go ahead and tackle, like tweak the tools to ensure that there is no false positives and things like that, but it has to get fixed. But think of the other way around where there is no security buy-in from the top and developers say, okay, show me the impact, exploit it and show. Like exploiting each and every bug is not possible, right? So I think top-down approach is there. One other thing that worked with us is having guardrails or paved paths or whatever fancy thing you like you term that as, is like, let's say you want to mitigate secrets. These are things, or like there are certain things where security team can do it single-handedly. Go ahead, do that. So if people are going ahead and mitigating secrets, you need evangelization. You can't detect 100% of the secrets. You will have to say what exactly is a secret. Are you talking about a token? Are you talking about SSL key? Anything? And then at the same time, you should not think that, okay, developers will be the same people every time, even if there is an incident, even if there is something burning in the company. You can't expect that, right? So you have to have your own tooling that ensures to a great extent. So top-down plus like guardrails or security controls in place.
Before I move to last question, I have a slightly I wouldn't say controversial, but like a bit of controversial take on top-down, right? The point is, sometimes you are lucky with having leaders who appreciate security, and that's very rare, right? I think the problem exists in security is that people who are responsible for security are not able to even explain to their leaders why it's a problem, because they are slightly more technical, or let's say they speak French and the leaders speak English, right? And then leaders are like, you know what, like, I don't understand you, let's not do it, or just align to it, right? Like, hence it's more of a binary, versus sometimes you get people, they know French, or you know English for that matter, then it's like a straightforward connect and do it, right? So now, and most of the people are working with people who speak English versus French. So yes, top-down is needed, not denying, but
in your case, the approach he suggested basically works, right? Where you bring the vulnerability and paint a picture contextual to the company,
yes.
so that the people who are not understanding your language get scared enough.
Yes.
All you need is for the build trust. Yeah,
Yes.
Okay. Whatever works. Right?
Whatever
So,
works.
yeah.
Like carrot or the stick. Okay. Last question, right? Can you share one specific incident, not naming a company, that changed your approach towards security architecture or how you look at security? Maybe not now, slightly older, where like the way your approach towards security changed because of one incident. That would be good to people to know. That would be last, and then we'll wrap up. And any one of you could talk about whoever has first.
You can go.
I have a very small one. Actually, I have always believed that people in general, I tend to trust people. I think tend to think that security is more of an outsider threat. But we had an insider event, and that was like the moment where I felt that, okay, zero trust means it is zero trust for zero trust. It's not like zero trust for outsiders, anonymous, and trust insiders.
Trust but verify regardless.
Yeah, it was like a life-changing thing for me.
Okay, fair.
For me, that will always be. Okay, so SSH keys, Debian one. And I was like a C programmer, so Valgrind was something I would use day in, day out. I couldn't fathom the amount of damage it had actually. Somebody running Valgrind on the tool and fixing UMRs basically would create a catastrophe it was basically a catastrophe at the global scale. And all machines having the same SSH keys. Okay, so yeah, that happened in Debian. So basically the SSH maintainer changed. The new maintainer ran Valgrind on the keygen. Basically what happens is these tools, they would read random memory, right, to generate entropy. So Valgrind tools like Valgrind will throw up a warning saying, okay, it's reading basically uninitialized memory read. That person went and zero filled that memory. So yeah, so after that, those keys are, if you install SSH keygen, etc., those keys are actually blacklisted. SSH server, if they see the key, they will basically reject. They will reject those particular keys. It actually went to the main line.
Chandrapal, anything you have?
I think the biggest one I can say, at least talk, is the DDoS attack. Nothing fancy around that. That is when we realized that don't take security tools for granted in the first place. Just because someone says they protect you from DDoS, we had a DDoS protection tool, but then DDoS occurred, then it gone. Then I understood, okay, never in my life am I going to be sold to what marketers tell. I will actually do that and see anything that I validate, try out or something, I will ensure that I create a vulnerable setup of it and see if it detects or not. And that is a great learning for both the company, me, security team, everyone.
So you technically saying zero trust but verify, even for vendors. Any parting thoughts you guys have on the security engineering track that we had today? We talk about from AI to supply chain to how to do security on a startup. Any thoughts that you guys want to?
This is good that we are talking about security. In general, I feel we don't talk enough about security in India at all. Okay. I see PhonePe's AppSec team going and running programs, etc., in Black Hat, Las Vegas, and so on and so forth. But we don't see events at that scale here at all. Okay, it's like very few and far between, right? And I feel we should probably create some kind of a mentorship structure in India to bring up more security engineers, introduce them to like real security tool. There is no progress bar. Okay, there is no you type something and it doesn't go to 0 to 100% like that. It's a painstaking process. You have to be patient.
Yes.
You have to, you have to go and think in like the developer's mind, the user's mind, and so on and so forth, right? So I hope people basically talk more about security, and senior folks like you guys should like mentor people fresh out of college and so on and so forth, right? So yeah, I'm not a security domain guy, right? I mean, anyone who has been in the industry for like 18, 20 years, okay, they would always be kind of appreciative of this. But I think we need to make security engineering more, how should I say it, more desirable for students, etc., coming out of college.
So it should not be a niche anymore.
It should not be a niche.
It should be a norm where people are able to appreciate, understand what it is, how it is, and it's a proper career path, and
Correct.
not just looking for certain fancy things like
Correct.
bug bounties, but
Yeah.
thinking more of this
It
as a
should
career.
not be something that one guy is basically sitting in his basement and doing,
Right.
like, so yeah, it needs to become more mainstream than it is right now.
Definitely.
About so this is about more of community thing. So as part of Connects, I happened to connect with a couple of delivery companies in Brazil, and one of the thing that the corresponding security person was telling me was apparently they all get together and create a group where they share their learnings, and as of today they apparently share a database of all the fraudsters that they've had, which is something that they use to detect fraud. Like as of today, it's not there in India,
Yeah.
right? Like a delivery executive can do a fraud in Swiggy and then move on to some other company and then move on to some other company. I think we lack that. So some sort of a group which can be, at least for e-commerce kind of space or even fintech kind of space, I think there is a lot of scope to improve our fraud signatures, security signatures, because these are all very, very hyper-local. If we are able to do that, I think it might help.
There was an initiative by government a few years back for fintechs to share this data, but something started, but I didn't think it landed to the finish line. But definitely, this has to be a more thing rather than I will manage it by myself and I'll take
Brazil,
it.
Brazil, they can. Apparently, Brazil, a couple of companies just got together, and they said that let's create this, and they are doing a decent job.
Culture does plays a role, but sure, I understand. Yeah.
Okay, for like I can't say from my experience, but at least because I'm still a practitioner, I have not gone to a leader or visionary stage. So as a security practitioner, for other people who are into security, the honest suggestion is go out of security conferences. Security conferences are in silos. You don't, like even in India, there are like PhonePe's team which presented in Black Hat Arsenal. There are Arsenal kind of events happening in India, but there is no buzz about it because all security team, all folks go there, maybe attend the trainings, have fun at the conferences and come out. And that creates a silo. Like, okay, look at security certifications right now. OSCP, you have to create buffer overflows. I'm not saying that it's not important, but the real security problems are something different. Like you have to understand that, and to understand that, look from the other angle. Like just go out of your comfort zone, like Rootconf for any systems or any non-security with an interest in like learning about the tech. You will understand. Okay, all of a sudden, like I have had this thoughts, or like I have had this aha moments when I went to certain like meetups, niche meetups, and like wow, like I could actually do the same thing in security. That solves a problem. Like innovation need not be something out of the box. It could be the same thing I apply to a security problem, it solves. Or it could be the other way around. Okay, they are doing it in this way, and that's the default setup, and that default setup is insecure. Things like this, right? So don't, like being security folks, we tend to get into a single group kind of thing, but we forget what is happening outside. But just look at what is out, you will
So
go for it.
if I have to conclude, all three of you, what you guys are saying is, insecurity in general, community is missing one. Second, everyone is trying to do the same thing in different manner and not sharing their insights outside. For whatever reasons, from compliances or shy or whatever. The thing is, this is something that we have to work very well, where things that PhonePe is doing, Swiggy is doing, you're doing, other companies are doing, can be leveraged, because there are domain-based problem, but then there are certain things in terms of auth, auth, authn, cloud infrastructure, all those problems that could be very straightforward that PhonePe would have solved, that Swiggy wants to, or vice versa, and all of that. But for some reason, we are not able to talk about it. That needs to be addressed better. Thank you. This is how we wrap up. And again, Shantanu, Fasi, Chandrapal, thank you for being here. It was great having a conversation with you and hearing your thoughts. Thank you.